What's up, guys? This is the Honest Outlaw here, and today we are going to be doing the 1,000-round review of one of my favorite pistols in quite a while, maybe my favorite pistol of 2021. This is the Walther PDP. Now, before we do that, I want to mention my Patreon supporters. Thank you guys very much. It's because of you we can get guns like this. If you want to help support the channel, all you got to do is go down to the link in the description, sign up on Patreon. If you sign up on Patreon, not only do you help out the channel, but you also get some exclusive content. I try to answer all your personal questions, and there's a good community over there that can help you out with some gun questions, things like that. Also, I want to mention a local shelter in Ames, Iowa. It's the YSS. It's a youth shelter that I always try to support. Those kids could really use your help now more than ever. The past few years have been pretty crazy, and a couple of dollars goes a real long way. If you want to donate to those kids, all you got to do is click the link in the description as well. And finally, there is a link to the t-shirts and merch and all that stuff. If you're interested in that, it's down there and it's available. Now, the Walther PDP is a gun that I've been waiting for some time. As you guys know, if you follow the channel, I'm a big fan of Walther. I'm a big fan of the P99. I'm a big fan of the PPK, the PPQ, and particularly the PPQ match. Not just the steel frame, but I really like the polymer frame 5-inch version, which is one of my favorite guns of all time. However, there was a few things there that I felt were a little off, that I felt like if they fixed, they could be the perfect pistol. And they actually did fix some of those things on the Walther PDP. The PDP is a 4.5-inch barreled, striker-fired polymer frame pistol with a few accessories. It comes with two 18-round magazines. Some offer actually more magazines, some offer less, but they also have a variety of different models of the PDP. I actually have two versions here. As you can see, this is the 4-inch compact version. They also offer a 5-inch compact version and a 5-inch long slide full size, and I think they offer like a weird 4-inch full size as well, but don't quote me on that. But there's a whole bunch of different configurations. On top of that, it also takes a lot of PPQ parts. I think the PPQ slide will fit on here, but it does take an awful lot, and it is very similar to the PPQ, which is pretty sweet as well. I've heard of people taking the PDP slide and putting it on their PPQ so they can get an optics ready pistol. Speaking of that, the PDP does come optics ready right away. I know they originally weren't shipping with the plate systems, but I believe they are now. The gun comes with a lot of features over the PPQ that I like a lot. It comes with a more aggressive slide, and the reason why I like that so much is because once you start cluttering up the slide with an optic, you have a lot less real estate there to actually run the slide when you're either loading, unloading, or clearing a malfunction. So this pinch method up here towards the front is actually a lot more useful when it comes to optics guns, and because of that, they did these super deep serrations that are not actually sharp, so you won't be cutting your hand on them or anything like that like on some guns, but they are extremely grippy, so you will be able to get a good grip on the slide and you'll be able to operate the slide really well. I think that was done really well. Comes with adjustable 3-dot sights. Not the best, don't get me wrong, but not bad either. Certainly better than your average Glock. And they do accommodate the red dot very well. This pistol is really designed with a red dot in mind. Now we come down here and we have the new trigger, the performance trigger, whatever the hell they call it, and it is exceptional. So we'll go through the trigger here real quick, and we'll do the first pull, and as you can see here, very short, very light trigger pull, well under 5 pounds, and allows you to get the accuracy out of this gun that you won't out of a lot of polymer guns. Then you'll look and see the reset here, which is really short as well, and then you're able to get those fast follow-up shots also, which is equally important in a self-defense situation. Now move down to the grip texture, which I think is probably the best thing that they did with this over the PPQ. My biggest con of the PPQ is going to be the slick grip of the PPQ. However, you can put Talon grips on it, you can silicone carbide it, you can do a lot of things to fix that. However, coming right out of the box with this honeycomb style M&P 2.0-ish grip texture here is a big advantage. One of my favorite grip textures on any pistol, and it goes all the way up to, I hate when companies short the grip texture grip texture down here, because if you're going to use your support hand, a lot of the friction on your support hand is going to be up here, and that's how you grip and control recoil. So I'm glad they went all the way up, and I'm glad they went more aggressive with this gun. It allows you to control the recoil so much better than the previous versions. Also comes with several back straps. You can change not only the width of the lower portion of the grip, but you can add a beaver tail on it as well, so you can increase the length or decrease the length of your overall trigger distance between the web of your hand and in the trigger finger there, so you don't have to put your trigger finger in an awkward position. A lot of times this is too small for me because I have bigger hands, and sometimes it's too large for smaller handed people, so allowing you to put that back strap on there is awfully nice. Something like I think the VP9 and several other guns that are very similar to this gun do not come with that. Now, one of the things that the VP9 does come with that this doesn't is it comes with side panels, which I actually think is pretty sweet as well. Maybe in future iterations of the PDP you'll have that. Comes with a squared off trigger guard here, and it also comes with a really nice trigger undercut. I remember back in the day, even 3 or 4 years ago, it was very difficult to get a comfortable high grip on a polymer frame pistol, and now it seems like all of them are doing it right. The older PPQs, I believe, had the European style mag release, the HK style mag release, and a lot of people really like that because it's easy to do an ambi magazine release. And what I mean by that is you can either hit it with your thumb or you can hit it with your index finger, depending on whether you're right or left-handed. However, this one does come with the American style, which I do prefer. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I just am used to this and I like this. And they also did it really well. Serrated magazine release, so your hand's not going to slip off it, and it is extended enough to hit it easily without changing your grip. However, it's not too extended where you're going to be hitting it with your support hand and accidentally ejecting your magazine. You're also able to put it on the weak side as well if you are left-handed, which is pretty nice, and it does come with ambi slide releases also. However, I don't really like the length of the ambi slide release, simply because a guy like me who's used to 1911s and CZs, I have a tendency to ride that slide release like I would ride a safety, and a lot of times I don't get a slide lock in the last round fired. Not a fault of the gun, a fault of my big dumb thumbs and the way I shoot guns. However, a lot of people shoot guns like that, and I did hear a few complaints about this particular design, because it does seem like a natural point for you to press down on a control recoil, and then you inadvertently do not have a slide lock in the last round. However, that's pretty easy to fix. I actually run 1911s and limited that don't have slide lock, and it's just easy to just eject the mag and run the slide really quickly. If you run the slide every single time instead of the slide release, that won't affect you at all anyway. Comes with a full Picatinny rail down here, and the full Picatinny rail with the slide cuts, I think, make the gun look really mean, and I think it looks really slick overall. The 18-round magazines were a nice touch, and I like the fact they added 2. I wish they would have added 3. Now, one of the impressive things about the PDP is the same thing that impressed me about the PPQ. A lot of times with guns, they'll go a little overboard on the weight, a little overbuilding, so to speak. The PDP comes in at around 22 ounces empty. That's pretty impressive for a 4.5-inch gun with an optic. Now, the compact version comes in at only 20 ounces, which is actually a little bit lighter than a Glock 19, and it comes with a lot more features than your average Glock 19, including a significantly better trigger than you could even buy. You can't even buy a Glock trigger that's as good as the PDP trigger, and I'll explain why that's important here in a second. Before we get into the trigger, I want to get into reliability. I think that's the most important aspect of a firearm. I think even a high point that's reliable is better than a 2011 that isn't, personally, because if it doesn't go off, it's basically a paperweight. And when it comes to something like this, something that is designed specifically for duty/home defense/concealed carry use, I think reliability is paramount. Accuracy is extremely important, don't get me wrong, but reliability is paramount. If the gun doesn't go off, I mean, what good is it really? You might as well be carrying a club or, I don't know, a baseball bat or something. So this gun is extremely reliable. We shot 1,000 rounds through the full-size version, and then we shot 200 or so rounds through the compact. I'll be doing a separate review of the compact. I'm just referencing in this video because I have it, so I might as well. And I can tell you that we had one malfunction with the full-size version, and that is because I shot 1,000 rounds through it. A lot of that was in -20. Some of that was in just above freezing, and then some of that was in extremely hot weather as well. Had a fail in the last round.
Uh-oh.
and I hadn't lubed it in 900 rounds, and I hadn't cleaned it in 900 rounds. And I got to tell you, the reason why we do that is just to see how far the gun can go, because there is some guns out there that have gone 1,000 rounds without cleaning or lubricating in my testing. As a matter of fact, there's been quite a few. Now, one malfunction I have a tendency to forgive, and the reason why I say that is especially during the ammo apocalypse, ammunition is not exactly the high quality that it once was. I mean, if it ever was. It really depends on what you pay for. And a lot of times with the prices of ammunition today, I have a tendency to shoot really cheap ammunition through these guns during the testing. And the reason why I do that is because that is what most people are going to do. People are not going to shoot critical defense through their gun all the time, every time. If you do, you're not going to be a very good marksman because you'll only shoot like 20 rounds a year. The ammunition this actually choked on was Phoenix ammunition remanufactured. And remanufactured ammunition is, don't get me wrong, Phoenix makes a good bullet, but the reality is it has a tendency to be less reliable for sure than factory ammunition. And since factory ammunition can be relatively finicky these days, I'm not going to fault the Walther. I mean, you're talking 900 rounds in, no lube, adverse conditions, no cleaning, and then on top of that, you're shooting low-powered remanufactured ammunition. I got to tell you, it's hard to blame the gun for that. However, I do want to bring that to your attention because it did in fact happen regardless, and there are guns that I've done on this channel, like the CZ P10F and like the M&P 2.0, which are guns in this category that did do 1,000 rounds with no failures. That being said, all the quality ammunition and the defensive ammunition that we fired ran just fine with no issues whatsoever. Now, the accuracy of the pistol was unbelievable. I was extremely impressed, and I expected that. I expected the best polymer frame accuracy. And the reason why I did was because the previous most accurate polymer frame pistol that I've ever shot was the Walther PPQ, and the most accurate striker fired gun I've ever shot was the PPQ steel frame match. So I would have been a little upset if they would have taken a back step, and they did not. So the accuracy on this gun was really impressive. The trigger's actually a little bit better than a stock PPQ, which is really hard to believe, but it is. The trigger pull is a little bit lighter, and the reset's a little bit better. So accuracy is a little bit about the same, maybe a little bit better, and the speed or the cadence of fire is a little bit better than the PPQ. I would say it's on par with something like a PPQ with an Apex trigger in it, and that's really hard to beat. That being said, all of the P99-esque clone guns, anywhere from the Canic to the VP9 to the PPQ to the PDP, they all have extremely good triggers because of their pre-cock design. If you go all the way back to the P99, which I actually shot a couple of weeks ago, it had a comparable trigger to this. So remember, all of the guns in that family will have a really good trigger, and I think the trigger is the biggest interface with the person when it comes to shooting accurately. A dot helps a lot, don't get me wrong, but a good trigger will forgive a lot of issues that you have with your trigger pull. If it's lighter and it's shorter, there's less room for error, and when it comes to accuracy, trigger control is absolutely paramount. So obviously a better trigger is going to lead to more accuracy. Not mechanical accuracy, but I'm talking about accuracy from the user perspective. We were able to hit at over 100 yards in negative 20 degrees the first time I shot this gun. And that's really impressive. And on top of that, we were able to clean the plate rack at 50 yards. And I didn't just shoot this really well. Everybody that shot this really well. Going from accuracy, we're going to get into speed here. And the speed on the PDP, I think, is a significant improvement over the PPQ. And that was the biggest detriment, in my opinion, to the PPQ. Part of that, I think, is they changed the slide weight a little bit, and the recoil is a hair less. They also increase the texture on the grip. And if you can hold on to the gun and control that recoil with your body, you can make that gun shoot quicker regardless of recoil and pulse. On top of that, the trigger resets a little bit better, and the shorter distance you have to travel, the faster it is you're going to get there, and that increases the cadence of fire as well. So I think the biggest improvement is the trigger mixed with the grip texture that allows just for quicker follow-up shots. And if you're in close range engagements, which most handgun situations are, that's usually more important anyway. Piling off a whole bunch of rounds real quick. Obviously, you have to hit the spot you're aiming at, but faster is always better. I mean, unless you ask your wife. Haha. But overall, I think the improvements they did to the Walther PDP are clear when you actually shoot the gun. Now, one of the biggest advantages that the PDP is going to have over some other guns that have came out in 2021 is going to be price, for sure. The MSRP on this is around $600. For a gun that comes with these features, this trigger, and the ability to mount an optic, $600 is a real steal in my opinion. The only thing that I would consider that would come close to this as far as value goes is going to be something like the Canik SFX. Similar features, similar trigger, similar price. And this gun is, in my opinion, made by a more reliable company overall. Now, Canik does great guns, don't get me wrong, but they do have a history of letting a few fall through the cracks, whereas a company like Walther has well over 100 years of reliability and durability kind of built into their track record of their name. A lot of times when it comes down to guns that perform similarly, I always go with the company that I think is going to have better customer service, better warranty, and overall better lifetime durability, and I think that is where the Walther edges out the SFX, my personal opinion. Now, that's just my opinion, and a bunch of you could have PDPs that don't perform as well as SFXs and all that kind of stuff. They're so close, it's just hard to call, but I do believe that it is slightly better overall. Now, some of the cons, as I mentioned earlier, we'll just run through them real fast, is going to be the fact that it is a little bit more snappy than maybe something like an M&P. However, it's definitely very fast to shoot regardless. The other thing I wanted to mention is I don't really like the AMB slide release. I would like it if it was a little bit shorter, and I hear that there's some companies out there that are going to be making it a little bit shorter, or at least an aftermarket option. I'm not sure if Walther's going to offer that, but you will have the option to change it, and I will probably go that route. I love shooting guns, and I like to beat the crap out of them because I just want to see what they're capable of. And in my personal opinion, for the money, the PDP is probably the most capable full-size striker-fired pistol that I've had on this channel so far. If I had to pick between this and like a CZP-10F, woo, that would be a real tough choice, and maybe that would be a good versus video down the line, but we'll have to see. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please help out your local homeless shelters, and remember to recycle. I'll check you later.